Hello, this is the LEGO Star Wars Hoth Attack set from 2011. The first thing I want to do is point out how you can change the shape of the entire base by closing it up like this. It actually clips together to make it into a nice compact space, which still has plenty of access. You can still get your hands in there, move the figures around. It does have an empty space in the middle, but this is a nice little package for really turning this into a compact play set that still has a lot of stuff going on with it. And as an alternate, if you want to, you can do the exact opposite and open this up and make it really wide. So it just completely changes the dimensions of the thing and the proportions of it. Doesn't look as good from the outside. This is kind of like the outside view of it. However, when you look at it from the inside, this does still work out pretty well and just gives you a different way of playing with it. This is also really good for display if you're going to put it onto a shelf because it's not very deep. There are also a number of things that can be moved around in this, such as this little cart here, which can be used for fueling and doing maintenance on vehicles and craft. I would expect this to be used on maintenance of airspeeders in particular. This thing over here could be seen as a blaster if you want, but it could also just be seen as a flashlight or some sort of sensor reading equipment for getting diagnostic data. Got a couple of flick fire turrets up here, so they've got flick fire missiles off to the sides, and these can just be spun around. Unfortunately, the way they set these up, it's not really good to hook up to set up a figure with them, because a figure really needs to be off to the side in order to fit into that space. So you can have him just standing right there, but then you don't get really much room to turn this from side to side. But it's got the two flick fire missiles on each of the rotating turrets. There's also a turret on the outside, which looks like the classic anti-vehicle turret in its general design, but it's very small. This one does work just fine with a figure standing behind it. And just need to stand it back a little ways, and then you can adjust the position of the handlebars if you want, and this can also be rotated around. So that's giving you your point defense on the outside of the base. Next to that section is where the Tauntaun is kept, and this can be opened up. So they've got the feeding station set up right now, but that also will open up, works as a gate there. But when it's just in its upward position, you don't really need these locks on the sides. I find there's plenty of friction in the parts already, but that's a very convenient place to keep the Tauntaun there. And I like the little icicles that are hanging from the ceiling off to the side. Those actually have a little bit of a action feature to them. It's very simple. You just pull this pin out and then those can fall. So it kind of represents what's going on when the base was actually under attack and everything's vibrating. You can see on the other side of that same area, when this is in this form, in this horizontal form, they have just another set of those in line, whereas when you open it up, then it becomes two completely separate different areas. But right now you can just have people going directly through there. Up above, a couple of storage crates. It's just a convenient place to put them to kind of, again, make it good for display. Just everything has a place to put it with this. These are just a couple of I call them radar dishes, but they could be I don't know, they could be sensor related, or they could be for communications, I think. Before I move on from this side, let me just show you one other option for placing the Tauntaun. You can turn it around this way and get its feet to go into the studs on the base. And it has reins. We'll take a closer look at the Tauntaun in a minute, but it has reins that are a rubber piece, and you can flex that around, turn it around, and actually hook it up to these clips so that it'll actually be held in place. Now, moving on to the next area, got your little control center over here, and that's got some computers and plenty of readouts and screens, a couple back there on the back, and there are also some stickers that are on the inverted tiles, so you can see those from a lower angle. One has a little bit of a security cam on the generator unit, and then another one shows the AT-ATs that are on their way, that are coming. So it's just a couple of video feeds, and of course the heads-up display here with Princess Leia there right now. That is really, really nice. It actually has two of these panel pieces back to back, but only one of them has the sticker on it. And it makes for a good look, has a nice symmetry to it, but yet I think the sticker looks really, really good. The sticker's applied on the inside, so you have to be careful around the edges, but yeah, I think that's a very handsome looking little feature right there. A weapons rack over here can actually be accessed from the outside or from the other side of the base if you want, because these will fold down. So if you need to get access to them from over there, depending upon how you set this up for play, you can do that. And this is actually very smooth and fits together really well. I don't know how much value it has as a feature, but it's done nicely. And then this is the medical bay, which has the medical droid there. And back to the tank again, See how few people get that reference. The back to tank is done pretty nicely here. I like the little bit of detailing on the top of it, one single sticker up there. And it's very easy to open this up. Oftentimes with this sort of thing, with the half cylinder pieces, Lego will require you to do a little bit of disassembly, but this is just on hinges, which is very nice, and it's pretty easy to get the figure in. However, it's a little bit more difficult to get the figure out. Kind of have to break them out of there, but once it comes out, there's that. Of course, we'll take a closer look at the figures later on, but you can also set up your guy or gal, whoever needs medical attention, over on the bed over here, and then that is able to rotate around just so you can get a little bit different or better view on it. Meanwhile, up above all of that is another level and then another level still. So those are more places to pose figures. So you could set somebody up here if you want to, and you could also set somebody up here if you want to, or you could have a whole row of them. And that does multiple things. I mean, you can use it just that way, but you can also take all of this off as one whole complete structure. This, in turn, can be slightly altered by pulling it up. It does require a good amount of force to do this, but you can bring it up like so. Changes its setup again, and this also has a thing that's supposed to represent kind of a crane underneath of here, and the intent is that you'd be able to use that with some of these containers. So you could hook up one of these to that and just imagine moving stuff back and forth, but it is just back and forth. It doesn't really go anywhere else, and they don't include anything with this set to really hold on to these, to grab them, to kind of transfer those cases or those boxes from one thing to another. So mostly works out for displays, and especially for putting figures on it. Speaking of figures, here are the first 4 of those, with back to tank Luke on the left, which I like very much, except for the slight translucency of the print on the legs. I wish that had been doubled up with more white or backed with silver just to make it more opaque, so you would have gotten a more consistent bright white going across there. But the choices of designs placed on here for prints I think are really good. I also very much like that version of Princess Leia. Especially like that hairpiece. The torso is done well, but I think the hairpiece is probably my favorite Leia hairpiece that they have made to date. It has a small hole on the top. It's been used for other things as well, but I just like the design of it. I think it looks pretty good. Han Solo gets some printing down into the legs as well. Not a whole lot of it, but some, more on the hips. It's too bad they didn't have printing on the side. That would have been nice to continue some around there. And the old version of Chewbacca, missed that one, but a little bit dead in the eyes with no printing for the eyes whatsoever. I very much like the mold of that one, and it's just classic and just has a lot of nostalgia for me, that old design. No print on the back of Han Solo here. I really feel like he's missing a little bit in his prints. You do get a alternate face for Leia and also one for Luke here. So Luke can get fixed up. You've got the medical bay and the medical droid there, so you can get him fixed up and make him much more happy. And they also included a hairpiece for Solo, so you can have him hood up or hood down. Here are the 2 droids in the set, the 21B medical droid and R3PO. R literally standing for red. Very collectible figure though, I'm happy to get that one. Has the same classic print as old C-3PO. The medical droid, though, really feels like it's from a different generation of design. It's just a really well detailed, nicely textured figure. I really like the body piece. It's all one piece, the body and head for that medical droid, but it's got some really good printing on it as well. That's very fine, how they can just follow the line with the silver on there, on the hose. It's really nicely done. The Empire is represented in this set with two identical snowtroopers, and I'll just take the headgear off one of them. It's all one piece with the helmet and the backpack, and you'll see that on the one that's still there. So just a plain black head underneath there with no face on the other side or anything, just to show you the black color coming through the eye holes there on the front of the goggles and face mask. Lets you see a little bit more of the torso print with the helmet removed. No printing on the back of the torso and no printing on the back of the headgear piece, the backpack part of it either. Would have been nice to get a little bit there, but at least there is some molding in there. There is some detail in that, so that really helps to make up for it. And I think it was a good looking snowtrooper. The set included one speeder bike for one of your snowtroopers to use, and that's based around the 3-wheel ATV frame. I think it's still a very smart design, and it looks pretty good, and it scales pretty decently well to the figures and fits them in there nicely. It's got the spot for the legs to actually fit down in there. The skids on the back are a little bit awkward on this one to me. The whole thing just looks a little bit flat, but the whole thing gets the idea across. It's very clear what this is supposed to be, and I think that most kids who would get this would be very happy with it. I especially like what they've done with the handlebars, or the control sticks, I guess, to allow those to actually be placed into the hands of the figure itself. The thing on the back, the backpack, it is a backpack piece, which could be used with figures if you want, but it's just intended to represent, like a saddle bag on the speeder. The other snowtrooper could operate this E-Web heavy blaster, which came with its power pack as well, a little battery unit back there, and I think this is done nicely. This is scaled well. I think it's just an appropriate Legoification of that particular thing, that particular element from the movie universe. Yeah, I think this is just, it's nicely done. They don't have any way to pack it up or anything, but we don't see in the movie, where they have these and where they offload them from. So I think this is perfectly fine. I'm glad that they include that. Also, having two troopers means you can have one back here who can be adjusting the power flow if you want, so you can do them as a proper team. Or if you need both of these guys to be able to get around at the same time, there is space on the back. So you could set this up like so and have both of these riding on the speeder at the same time. If you want them to be using blasters, you could just borrow a couple of blasters from the base. Last but not least, here's the Tauntaun. I do wish this had the ability to move its legs back and forth, but I think it's an okay design compromise to bring in a little extra believability and accuracy with the shaping of the legs, and to lose the ability to move them in comparison, I think works out fine because it looks really good. And you are still able to move the arms, but I'm actually most happy with the horns. For some reason, I don't know why, those horns really just satisfy me. They're separate pieces, two separate pieces on the sides. You can kind of angle them differently to get slightly different looks of Tauntauns if you want. I could just imagine that different ones would have their horns grow slightly different, kind of curl up differently. It does use just the standard old Lego horse saddle piece in there, so it fits in the normal way. And you see I got that blaster attached on the other side, and these reins work really well, allowing a minifigure to hold on to them. They flex around and they just stick into the mouth. It's a really useful piece, and if you want to show this being unsaddled, you can take all of this off and just replace it with an included, these pieces are included, 1x2 brick with a tile on the top, and it just smooths out the whole body. And the reins can be taken out as well, and just kind of have it, just chilling, just all in its natural form. So there was a lot going on with this set. I think it's pretty well done. I like the minifigure selection, especially for me, back to Luke, the medical droid, and R3PO are the highlights for me. Nostalgically, the whole Hoth battle was really all about the vehicles, you know, the speeders and the walkers. For me personally, and even the Viper droid was all part of that. But this was just intended to represent the base here, and you would get the other things, the vehicles and such, in separate sets. I think that as a base, this is done pretty decently well, but I wish that it was able to integrate a little bit better with the vehicles, because you're not even able to fit anything bigger than a speeder bike through the main opening door on this. The Tauntaun area is done well. The little command center I think looks very nice. The medical area is okay. I like the back to tank and the bed. I wish that there was a little bit more instrumentation around there, just, you know, for extra detail. The defense weapons, you know, the cannons on the base here are so-so. I wish that you either could have used figures with the two up top better, or that they had included just something larger to work with figures. I think that would have worked out a little bit better to me. Oh, I do definitely like how you can reconfigure the base to put it into more of a square shape with a more continuous interior, or spread it out. But that's it for my thoughts. Let me know what you think about this 2011 Hoth Echo Base set. Share your thoughts in a comment, and I'll talk to you again very soon.